Hello, Judith Hanson here, talking today about a particular kind of habit, a habitual reaction to something that happens. And before I get on to that, just a little bit of background. There is a part of our brain that when it spots us doing something over and over again, it automates it for us just to make our life easier. And this is wonderful when we are practicing in order to learn how to do something like drive a car, play a musical instrument, play a particular sport. This is what makes us good at whatever it is we've been practicing. Unfortunately, the same part of the brain will automate those things that are not helpful. So for some reason, at some point, we decided to start biting our nails, and now it's out of our control. Now we're doing it automatically. And those are the sort of things that people think about when I mention habits. But what I want to talk about today are these habitual reactions to things that happen to us. And I make a distinction between a reaction, which is like that, because it's automated, because it's habitual, and a considered response. So, as a for instance that I see and personally have experienced and occasionally still do, if somebody somehow makes us feel inadequate, it may be that we can't do something that they're teaching us. It may be as simple as we thought they ignored us, when in fact maybe they just didn't see us and therefore didn't come over and talk to us. So let's take that as a very common example. You know, somebody ignores you, you assume it was deliberate when it probably wasn't, and you immediately think, oh, I'm obviously not worth talking to. And then you can go off down a very uncomfortable chain of thoughts. You know, I'm not worth, actually nobody finds me terribly worth talking about. Not many people want to spend time with me. Haven't got many friends really. Don't think my partner likes me particularly. And you can just keep going and going and going until it gets worse and worse, and you'll find yourself, you know, without friend or family, probably living on the streets or whatever, you know. And you can do this in seconds, and that's another habit that people with anxiety often develop, is an ability to catastrophize, which is the technical term, very, very quickly. But let's just talk about more general, less horrendous versions of, you know, how we react. So, you know, we all of us have moments of self-doubt, and if we're not feeling at our best, somebody doing something as simple as ignoring us can make us feel inadequate, unworthy, whatever. And this is a reaction that we've developed over the years for whatever reason, and it isn't at all helpful, because what we're doing is continually taking in evidence to support the belief that we're not worth it. Now, if we're reasonably okay, reasonably balanced, you know, we can, oh, Bobby didn't see me, that's okay, then, you know, nothing to worry about. But if we are feeling down for whatever reason, and certainly if we're suffering from anxiety or stress, then we are unlikely to react in that, oh, I'm not really worth much, am I? And of course, that thought then drives the feelings, and that's a downward spiral that we don't want to get into. So I talk about a different way of behaving when something like that happens. And I distinguish between that reaction that is the habitual automatic one and a considered response, which is, instead of thinking, oh, here's another example of how awful I am, we stop, take a moment and think about what is the best way for us to respond to this, that's the most helpful for us. And, you know, in the case I'm using of somebody just ignoring us, the most helpful way is to say, well, they probably didn't notice me, because that's probably the truth. They didn't deliberately ignore us. And so how do we manage this response instead of this habitual reaction? And the ideal way, which is something that I teach in mindfulness, is to take a breathing space. I don't know, were you ever told as a child to count to 10 if you were angry or if somebody upset you? Well, there's not a lot of difference really, is there? What we mean in mindfulness is to just take a moment and breathe. Now, you can just take a moment and focus on your breathing, be very aware of the physical activity of breathing, feeling the air coming in through your nostrils. Sorry, I close my eyes because that's what I do when I'm doing that. You know, you feel the air coming in through your nostrils, going down the back of your throat, going into your chest. You feel your tummy rising and falling, your chest rising and falling. Or you can deliberately, this is my preference, take some deep breaths, some slow, deep breaths. Breathing technique I use is breathing in slowly and evenly for a count of 6 and breathing out slowly and evenly from a count of 6, making sure you're using a diaphragm, breathing from your belly. 3 or 4 of those breaths will get you into a more rational, calmer state so that you can come up with this considered response to what's happened and not automatically go down the react route. And guess what? You can change a habit in 20-something days. The number varies. Let's say it's 26 days. You can change a habit in 26 days. So if you keep taking a moment, focusing on your breath, focusing on your breathing, and considering what the most helpful response would be for a month, you will have stopped that habitual behavior. It really is as simple as that. Now, when I'm working with clients, there may be other things underlying their feelings of self-worth, and you know, we will work on those as well. And there are other ways of dealing with it, but this is the simplest, easiest way of dealing with it. Just stop and take a breath. Not just for the examples I've quoted, but you know, for the anger one, you know, if somebody makes you really angry, you know, that moment, we all seem to do it in the car a lot, don't we? When somebody does something that makes you really angry. This is not a good state for driving. Just breathe. Just focus on your breathing. Don't close your eyes if you're driving like I did, but just breathe. So, in summary, we will have developed from earliest childhood reactive habits to particular situations. They may once have served us when we were 5. They may never have served us, but they be the only way we could have coped when we were 5. You know, lying on the floor and screaming was about all we could think of doing. Not very good when you're 35. They may never have been of any use to us, but they can be changed. You don't have to live with them for the rest of your life. You can change them, and you can change them quite easily. So something happens, instead of reacting in the way that you normally would, you stop, focus on your breath, then consider what the best response to the situation is. Okay, hope that's helped. If you've got any questions or comments, you can stick them below wherever you found this video. Or you can always get in touch with me directly, and I'd be very happy to talk it through with you. But that's it for now from me, and until I see you again, as always, and still, stay well and stay safe. Bye.